Welcome to my little victory garden where I'm trying to grow food for my family in a small backyard in North Texas. So I took the shade cloth down because we're no longer hitting the days into the upper 90s like we had that brief spurt of. Probably because we've actually been getting rain. But as you can tell, some of the tomatoes just don't look like they were getting enough light. So I figured I'd take advantage of the cooler days and let them get a little more light, and I'll see about trying to put that thing back up later as the temperatures rise. So as you can see, I've pulled up the onions that were on this side of the peppers. I still need to pull up that lettuce. But the plan for this weekend is to plant some more okra. I'm going to leave those onions and those in the ground a little longer. They seem healthy enough and they're not in my way. Even that one can stay for a little while. Although when it comes up, I'll try to see about putting some basil there. I might go ahead and start some basil in a pot. I don't know. But yeah, so really all I need to do, I think, is to plant some okra. I've pulled down the shade cloth already. And I need to do some weeding because you can see there's grass. I'm telling you, this is some serious zombie grass. I know some of it's nut grass, but I don't know what the other stuff is. But it is just good stuff. What is this stuff? It's on this long trail. I've grown up with it around these parts of Texas my whole life, but I never knew what it was. All I know is I hate it. You cannot seem to kill this stuff. So as this is the last day of the month, I thought I would give you a bit of a garden tour. We can start here around the apple tree since that's where I'm standing. The zinnias are starting to bloom. The lemon balm has vigorously grown back after a few deep cuttings of it. It's made a very lovely pesto as well as tea. And the lemon thyme is also just absolutely huge. And my gophrynia has finally started to bloom. Look at those pretty purple flowers. So many. It actually looks a lot better than it did last year when I first purchased the plants and put them in the ground. And these were grown from seeds I saved from last year's purchase plant. Hopefully there's no copyright issues on this or whatever regulations they have that you're not supposed to propagate, because yeah, but I don't know what variety it is. It's just a pretty purple gophrynia. Starting over here by the back gate, my wife came home from her business trip and raked out all of that mulch that we put over here that was half composted. Oh look, I'm like right by this thing and he just landed there. Yeah, she moved her bird feeders over here. They have been very happy since then. But okay, going back to the garden. So this eventually is going to be like a perennial herb bed. So I've got rosemary that I planted last year, some French thyme that I planted this year, parsley that got planted here this year, the rue. My wife picked that up while we were in Louisiana. I'm not sure what we're going to do with it. I might regret planting it here. I might need to move it at some point. And then of course my spicy oregano. And for now I've got Swiss chard. Those plants typically last about 18 months. And I figure they'll be nice placeholders until some of these herbs take over. That's an annual. The rest of these should be perennial for the area. Then I've got my rose, which the picture this app that I'm using says that it's just not getting enough light. Not much I can do about that right now. But it's been blooming beautifully. We just have these yellow leaves over here on this side. It gets a lot of morning light. And as this is the northern part of my property, but this fence is in the way, so it's getting more of a southern facing life. Let's see, I've got my lavenders are planted underneath it, and then I've got one of my 2 artichokes. I eventually want 5, but 2 is what I managed to have survive this year. Still angry about the whole compostable pot thing. I have a lot of grass to pull out. This is my red sorrel hibiscus. It has really taken off. I probably should have researched this more before I decided to put my seedling here. I suspect I did not give this near enough space. But here it's going to be an annual. The winters get a little too cold. And then I've got a Tabasco. And behind that is my Suffolk grape that I bought at, I think, Home Depot. One of those big box stores. I don't normally have much success with those. And I've gotten to where I'm starting to buy more of my perennials from Stark Brothers, or I'm growing them from seed myself. This is another Tabasco that I picked up in southern Louisiana. I planted 3 of the 4. Oh yeah, I didn't show you that. I have one tiny one over in the herb bed because a little tiny one. I need to trim back that Swiss chard so it can get some more light. But yeah, so we will see how the Tabasco goes. It looks like it's starting to put on flowers. I think this is the only one that is, but it's also the largest of the 3. I gifted the 4th one. This is my Red Flame seedless grape that I got from Stark Brothers. I don't expect to see any fruit off these for a few years. I'm just glad I finally broke down and bought them. I've wanted the grapes for a long time and just haven't done anything about it. And then my last chamomile seedling I had in a pot I threw out here a few days ago, or I guess about a week ago or so. And then this is my older Swiss chard. I got this about 1.5 years ago at our H-E-B. The others that were here were from like a year earlier, and they died off in the spring. In here, I'm not sure if you remember, I bought those asparagus. So I put asparagus crowns all through here in front of the grapes. My hope is that the asparagus will help keep out all the freaking grass. I hate the grass. This is my Cowart muscadine grape. And then this is the oregano I planted last year. I seriously need to cut this back and dry some herbs or find some people to gift it to. You can see where I dug up and planted those asparagus crowns. And there's my little marigold, one of my Mother's Day gifts from my wife. And this is my fry muscadine. It finally started putting on leaves. I need to get these things tied up to the post there. I'm not 100% sure when it blooms. I'll figure it out. I think it might be a cosmos. I've never grown cosmos before, but I kind of threw out cosmos and zinnia seeds all over the place. And they were older seeds, at least for the cosmos, so I wasn't sure what I would get out of it. And this is my second artichoke. This one gets its sun during the afternoon, and it's bigger, so when I plant my other artichokes, they'll probably go out this direction. There's another one of my Mother's Day marigolds. And finally, one of my white polar bear zinnias sprouted. I'm so excited. I'll try to save seeds from it, but I do have pink and red zinnias, so I don't know if it will breed true because due to cross-pollination. And then this is my Triple Crown blackberry and my Chester blackberry and an Arapaho blackberry. And then this is the Arapaho blackberry I got last year. I'm not sure if you saw the video where this had fallen over in our storm, and it has just, I've kind of did my best to tie it up to the trellis, but it's not doing well. And oh, the birds are back. I can hear them. Oh, they just all flew off. This is that raspberry I got last year. Last year's cane never did anything. I need to cut that back and trellis these up. This is some random everbearing strawberry I got at another big box store. It's putting on little babies. And there's my pink and red zinnia mix that I'd saved the seeds from last year's planting, and the dahlia behind it. There's my tarragon. I really had no idea it was going to get that big. It was nowhere near that size last year, and it pretty much died back to the roots. I actually thought it died in the handful of freezes we had in the late winter. And this, once again, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's either Canterbury bells or Irish bells. I kind of threw those seeds out here along with some poppies, and the poppies never germinated. And then these are my sunflowers. They're kind of a random mix of some old seeds I had and some freebies I'd gotten. And then over here, we have two of my Creole tomatoes, my pickle bush cucumber, and my peanuts. They're not looking so great, but we'll see. Like I said, growing peanuts was an experiment. And then this is a mystery tomato, one of the ones that started from suckers. And then my Cubanelle pepper is not doing squat. Same for my cayennes. This is my other bush of cayennes. And then this is a banana pepper that I picked up kind of spur of the moment. It's kind of what these grow bags have become. My spur of the moment purchases go in here, or things that I successfully propagated that I wasn't sure I was going to. Yeah. And going forward, I'm not going to make any kind of garden plans that involve these, except for I want to get blueberries. And I'm going to have to grow those in pots or grow bags or something, because our soil is not acidic enough for that. This is what has me excited. These are my beans. I actually haven't checked my beans yet this morning. I've been harvesting about twice a day. Yeah, I need to go get my basket and harvest some beans. But we have, along this edge is the kidney beans, and then the pinto beans. I am harvesting them as green beans because that's what I grew up having, as green beans, and I love them. They don't squeak when you eat them. I don't know how else to explain it. I do not like beans that squeak. They're just, I know y'all probably think I'm nuts, but yeah. And then this was a tricolor mix that I'd gotten, and then some Blue Lake. I put in some borage here, but those seeds never sprouted either. Now, I've had these seeds a couple of years, but even when they were new, they were not sprouting. But I keep trying. I've got some from a different vendor to plant later. And this is the mascot. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's a container green bean, French green bean. They did not do well for me in the pots last year because it just gets too hot here. I couldn't keep them adequately watered, but they're thriving in this bed. And then here are red beans. I started these from beans I bought at the grocery store. Well, Costco. I got a big old bag of beans. I should start seeing some. I've seen some babies size ones in here the last few days. When I come out to harvest, I'll give it a try. I am very excited. These are my first blooms. My first blooms. They're males, but they're blooms. I might snip those off and fry those up today. I don't think my wife has ever had fried squash blossoms. Gosh. Yeah. Okay. I need to go get some tape too and see about getting rid of squash eggs. I haven't seen any for a few days. This is my first one in almost a week. So, yeah. I'm gonna go get some tape and see if I can get that off. And I also saw a squash vine borer out here, but it doesn't seem to have attacked anything. I wasn't able to kill it. And my little traps that I have don't seem to have any in them. But yeah, I'm gonna check all of these. So this is gonna be my Black Beauty zucchini, and that is my white scallop squash, and that's my yellow crookneck. I think I had to plant those seeds 2 or 3 times. Once again, older seeds, but they still germinated, and I'd gotten them very inexpensively a couple years ago from the feed store. These are my kohlrabi. I probably planted them too late. They're being eaten by something. I'm just kind of keeping them there in case they kind of help discourage the squash bugs. And then I've got my leeks. I'm not sure if y'all remember, just a few weeks ago I was putting those seedlings out and I wasn't 100% sure if they were the leeks or the onions. They all seem to successfully been leeks. So yay. I still haven't gotten that last round of corn planted out. Guess that's another garden chore. So what have I got so far? I need to plant out the corn. I need to plant out the okra. I need to get rid of squash bug eggs and trellis some plants. Some of my corn has recovered. We put these little fencings up mainly for the pole beans that I was growing here, and had originally planned for them to climb up the corn, but the corn fell over. And this seems to have provided some support for the corn, and it's trying to recover. This round of Aunt Mary's corn had a very low germination rate. I put out 16 seeds, and I've got 6 maybe from that planting. Hopefully the Country Gentleman will have a better germination rate. I will say some of the seeds were broken, and that probably has a lot to do with that. And the first few where I was putting up the good seeds, the whole seeds first, those have done pretty good. I think I probably had about a 75-80% germination rate on those. And let's see, over to the other bed. So this is where I had all that garlic and lettuce. The lettuce all got fed to chickens as it bolted. I probably, of the 35 or so pounds of lettuce that I have harvested already, about 20 of it went to chickens. But I intentionally planted a lot more lettuce than I knew I would eat because I did want to feed them to the chickens. Julie's been very generous in providing me with eggs. I figured I could help feed her chickens. I've put some of that composted or partially composted mulch on here. I'm thinking for a fall planting of putting out some glass gem corn. And it'll be late enough that it shouldn't have any issues with cross-pollinating with my sweet corn. So these are the onions I'm going to leave in for a little while. I took out the ones by the peppers. Let's see. Oh, and these are those ones that I moved, if you remember, because I'd wanted to plant the peppers. They have actually done okay here. They're not big, but none of the red onions were really very big this year. Let's see. These two are the jalapenos. And then I believe these are, the next two are bell. No. Those two are bells. This little stunted one, I'm not sure if you remember the whole compostable pot thing and just how horrible that has turned out for me. But yeah, this was one. And then it seems to have accidentally dropped a parsley seed in the pots when I was seeding those. The pepper that was there is gone, but the parsley is doing quite well. I think these were supposed to be pimentos. So pimentos, and then these are pimentos. These are the Pippin golden honey peppers. They were free seeds. I really don't know what to expect on those, but the flowers are pretty. Then I've got another bell. So I bought those bell pepper pack in Louisiana, and I just used those to kind of fill in where the ones I started from seeds did not do well. And then these are the Hungarian paprikas. One of them has been very happy. This is probably the second pepper it's put on. I might snip that off and cook with it because I really want that thing to grow more. These are my Chinese string eggplants. Once again, you see it stunted one from the compostable pots, and then this one was in a plastic pot. It's put on a few flowers. I don't think any of them have pollinated yet. And then the tomatoes. This is the thing I get most excited about. This is why I garden. My grandparents had a garden when I was growing up, and I was probably close to 30 before I went and bought a store-bought tomato. And I'd love tomatoes, but the ones from the store were extremely bland. I remember talking to my grandfather. I believe he grew Sweet 100s for the cherries and a beefsteak for his slicing, and then he did aroma. I've tried those all in the past. I do like them all, but this year I've got a completely different mix. I've got a Rosenstraub cherry, Creole tomatoes, which I bought seedlings for. All the rest of these I started from seed. And then I've got a Mortgage Lifters for a slicing tomato as well. And then a San Marzano and an Amish paste. And I did 4 of the paste tomatoes and the Mortgage Lifters. And I've got 4 of the Creole tomatoes, 2 here and 2 in grow bags. And just 2 cherry tomatoes. I figured that was going to be plenty of cherry tomatoes. But this is my biggest tomato so far. It's one of the Creoles. And then over here are my cucumbers and melons. These are all a Marketmore and Munchers. This first one is a Marketmore 76, I believe. And I believe the rest of these might be Munchers because I'd had them die off and I threw them more seeds out and I'm not sure what's what. But this is from the original one and it did not have an issue. I might try seeing if I can start them from seedlings. I don't think any of the ones I have pollinated yet, any of the female flowers. And then this is my Sugar Baby watermelon. You can see I've got those little traps. It was intended to catch aphids, but it's caught a lot of flies and mosquitoes. And then these are my muskmelons. It's a Hale's Best and I forget. I can never remember the other one. But the other one I have like 3 seeds left and I've got most of the packet of these Hales Best. And as you can see, I pointed this out, they're looking a little sad, so I took the shade cloth off to get them a little more light. And I hear them. I'm hearing the birds. Let's see. Down there under the compost thing. Can you see me up there? And these are, I guess, my more for funsies plants. My mother-in-law likes daisies, so I planted English daisies in that pot. A Shasta daisy there. I'm really hoping that is a Shasta daisy seedling. None of the other seeds sprouted. I might try reseeding that. And then a Swan Lake daisy. I've had fun playing with those. And then that is my ginger mint, I think. And that was a spur of the moment purchase. This is my spearmint, and this is my sweet mint. I intentionally bought those because my original mint bed was looking sad, and I didn't think that they were getting enough sun, because they've, in the 12 years that they've been in the bed, they've never really done the aggressive thing that people tell me mints do. They've been more dealing with the evil, horrible grass and being choked out by that. This and that little square pot are chives. These are some succulents my wife bought, and then the cat really enjoyed trimming it up on a regular basis. So it got out here. I don't think it's happy out here though. I bought some of those calendar pages that had seeds. I'm sure you all saw the advertisements for them. Not a single seed sprouted. I was very sad. This is the celosia my wife picked up. And this is the plumeria I got in New Orleans. It obviously has some sort of wound on it and has not done squat. And it's gotten less and less green instead of putting on any kind of leaves. Pretty much going to call this a fail. I really wanted a plumeria. My name means plumeria. In case you weren't aware, it's Malia. If I remember the story correctly, I was supposed to have been named Jennifer. And then, they used to put women under to give birth. And just before my mom fell asleep, she looks at the nurse and goes, "It's a girl. I'm going to name it Malia." Well, on the other side of Fort Worth is a Polynesian community. And I believe her roommate in the hospital was Hawaiian. So we think maybe it's a name she heard in the hallway or something before she went under. And so yes, my name was a drug-induced idea for my mother, but I rather like it. And then this is a spineless prickly pear I've had for probably about a decade or more. I've gone to, I was part of a community garden, and we had a luncheon at one of the ladies' homes, and she was a landscape designer, and she had this growing in her alley. And I asked her where to find a spineless one, because my daughter loves prickly pears. And she just broke off a pad and handed it to me. And it grew very well. It has survived being neglected in a pot for a decade. And my wife finally planted it, and in the process found this gigantic rock. And this is after we'd broken it up quite a bit. My son had to finally come out and dig it up. Of course, we have a grass problem around here. One day there will be no grass at all in my yard. But yeah, that's my garden and the last day of May. And I have some harvesting to do. Okay, time to put out about 8 square feet of this. I am already tired. It is so hot outside. But instead of working in the late morning in the garden, I went kayaking with my wife. And now it's hot. But time to get this in the ground. I'm also thinking of putting in a couple of these. That kind of as a ground cover around the corn. So corn is in. I'm going to put in one of those squash seeds, see how it goes, and hopefully it rains. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. I'm going to hope so. I did water everything in. I might go ahead and put some corn over there next week so I can get a couple more rounds of the Country Gentleman. And then in July, I'll start planting popcorn. So I've been cutting the lower branches off my tomatoes as they start touching the ground. I think I've done pretty good. I'm not having much of the problem with the yellowing branches as I've had in the past. But one unexpected little joy is I'm starting to see the tomatoes peeking out. So I sit in my rocking chair every day. Is that not the coolest? I cannot wait to harvest one of these tomatoes. I think the Creole's going to be the first one that gets picked. I'm thinking I really need a fried green tomato. And it already has a few more growing on it. See that thing? Yeah. Cherry tomatoes haven't started making squat yet, but nor the mortgage lifters. Everything else has got some big, beautiful tomatoes. Yay! So I did harvest that Creole tomato and made some fried green tomatoes with it. I would have to say this is probably the prettiest fried green tomatoes I've ever made. Thank you for watching. If you're enjoying seeing how my garden is progressing this year, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm hoping to show more of the garden and what I'm cooking from the garden in future videos.